Welcome, class, to the mathematics behind sanctification. We're going to be going over Belousov-Zhabotinsky reactions today. I know that can be a bit of a dry subject, but I'm going to make it interesting for you. We're also going to be discussing one of the heavyweights from the Gospels and the party that I'd imagine that some of you might be pre-gaming for approximately 4 hours after this class period ends. What is a Belousov-Zhabotinsky reaction? We work with these in relation to understanding Providence's operation in the natural world, so I'm going to make it simple. So this is an oscillating chemical reaction where you pour a substance that is chemically active into a beaker. Now, if you observe the motion of this system, you'd expect it to be arbitrary, random, or ugly in appearance, but it creates an ordered pattern. So there's little pockets of color that form, these pulsates into bigger pockets of color, and then by the end of it you have these really kind of beautiful, mesmerizing patterns of cascading waves that combine and uncombine in each other. And I have likened this to the operation of providence in the natural world, with the foundational claim that one's life could go a million different directions. If you put a person into a place, into a surrounding social network, there's seemingly infinite parameters or different trajectories that they could theoretically go down. Now, in PMP, this was one of the mechanisms described in that system, and we added to this model. So this is a BZ reaction, and then initial probability fields would be the constraints or the boundaries that keep this in check. So if you figure that in the middle, your BZ reaction is functionally infinite, when you put these initial probability fields around it, this constrains your potential iterations of reality into a bounded range. These initial probability, the IPF brackets that you acquire, are inherently what keep your life within a certain set of boundaries. So this is no longer functionally infinite. Now, we talked about systematic thinking, taking a position to a logical extreme to tease out the inherent nature of a dynamical system. So let's do that with this model. Let's say one of these boundaries is that, man, in the class you happen to put on 50 pounds of lean muscle. All of a sudden, this center changes because there's different life trajectories, social connections, health patterns, maybe business opportunities that might have been unavailable to you before you put on the lean muscle. Winning the lottery, suddenly you have a balance of $100 million in your bank account. Once again, we see that there is a whole new set of reality available to you that would not be available to a person who does not have $100 million in their bank account. But what I want to talk about today, which I kind of led the lecture off with, would be alcohol. Alcohol provides a very unique set of constraints to the inherent randomness of your life as a BZ reaction. And I said we were going to go over one of the heavyweights from Scripture today. That is going to be John the Baptist. John the Baptist is often referred to as the patron saint of sobriety. Before he was born, his parents were told that hard spirits will never touch his lips. So as you can see, we already have a set of constraints on the life of John the Baptist that wouldn't have previously existed if he had not been born enforcing that constraint. And as you know, John the Baptist led a very important life. He baptized Jesus. And I suspect that if he had been an avid partier throughout much of his life, that story would have gone a bit differently. So these boundaries, when we discuss alcohol, think about all the bad that can come from it. Not just the hangovers or the weight gain or saying embarrassing things, but the truly destructive conditions that can arise from engaging in that behavior. Drunk driving, accidental pregnancy, physical violence. If you have all of that in your BZ reaction, all of the sudden, the broad gamut of potential lives you can live contains inherently many potential bad trajectories that are possible. When you put these constraints on the system, all of a sudden this pool of possibility in the middle becomes limited, and it becomes limited in a good way. Now, last week we talked about Proverbs, the idea of a P plus or a P minus, as an actor moves down a trajectory and engages in a positive feedback loop. You do good, your nature becomes more good, you're more likely to do more good. Or you do bad, your nature becomes more bad, and you're more likely to do more bad. I think Proverbs can fit into this model we're describing in a very similar way. Because if you take Proverbs and make them the constraints of the system, the same rules that could have led you down a positive trajectory or a negative trajectory, set up as boundaries of the entire system, do a good job of constraining the system into what is inherently a more positive, bounded range of potential opportunities. So do what you're going to do. I was an undergrad once, I totally understand it. But keep in mind that the parameters you put around your system are going to create the probability field within which you act. And this doesn't just have to be related to substance use. This could be related to all kinds of gamuts of sin, whether that's having a gambling app on your phone or exposing yourself to certain kinds of media. It can be more mundane, like if you're studying, but you have Netflix on in the background, you may be far less likely to study effectively. And the same thing can also be true positively. So if you have a healthy sleep schedule, healthy diet, regular exercise, positive social interactions of a good peer group who are good influences on you, I wouldn't be surprised that if we take these numbers and run them through some supermassive computer, you're more likely to be on a positive trajectory as opposed to a negative. Have fun tonight. Thank you, and God bless.